it is rare that I see Stugotz this kind of squeamish, this kind of jittery. It happens when Ron Magill is around because Ron Magill, it's not Ron Magill. Ron Magill always has a case of some sort with a hidden animal. Stugotz once called 911 on a frog.
I did. Yep. It was a bullfrog, Dan.
And I don't know the animal Ron Magill has. We will unveil it at the end of this segment. But Ron Magill, we're thrilled to have him in studio with us, all of us except Stugotz.
Yeah, well, I'm thrilled to have Ron in studio. I love seeing Ron. Like Greg, he is one of the few people that upon seeing him, I smile. It's the cage that's problematic.
It's a container. Okay? It's a container. We don't call it a cage. It's a container.
Okay.
It contains the animal,
semantics,
which is there.
It's a small container. It's not a large one, but Stugotz is still afraid of it. And purposefully, Ron Magill has placed a blanket over the animal. What do you think is in there, Stugotz?
It's a shelter. It's an animal that enjoys the darkness. It enjoys being in a small, contained area. It gives it a sense of security.
Rick Pitino?
Are you going to put it in the middle of the table? What are you going to do at the end of this segment?
I could put it there right in the middle of the table. I think it'll be okay.
Okay. Stugotz, your greatest fears from the animal kingdom? I saw Deion Sanders met Ralphie the buffalo the other day and was yelling and shouting and saying, I never get close to animals like this.
Coach Prime.
Your greatest fears are what?
Frogs.
Just frogs and
frogs and snakes. Yeah.
Ooh.
Which is odd, being a snake, that I'd be afraid of other snakes, but frogs and snakes, to answer your question. Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of understanding, Stugotz. If you took the time to try to understand. No, you do. You need to take the time to understand these animals. These fears are all baseless. They really are. You should be more afraid of sitting next to Dan than you should be of a snake. No, I'm serious. Dan could do you so much more harm.
Yeah, but he can't hop. I mean.
Stugotz is afraid of this, but Cody's not terribly comfortable either, from what I can tell. What's your problem?
I'm a little apprehensive, not knowing what's in there and imagining what it could be.
Guys, I promise you, it is nothing dangerous. Nothing
What do you
dangerous
think
at
it
all.
is, Greg?
If I had to take two guesses, I'm going to say the world's largest tarantula, like fist-sized tarantula, or a bat. But if it was a bat, we'd probably hear it squeaking.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a point, but not necessarily, because once they're calm, they don't squeak. They just kind of sit calm. That's the goal of keeping it under the pillowcase inside the container. Why are you looking on the ground? It's not loose.
I think it's a zebra.
I don't know, man. I'm not comfortable at all, man.
Ron, make a bat squeaking sound. You're so good at imitating all animals. That's it.
Not bad.
It's a bat in there.
It is incredible. What do you regard as your greatest animal impersonation?
Oh, jeez.
You do so many.
The howler monkey, probably. The howler monkey, yeah.
Gonna make you do it. We've got questions from around the room. Let's do our segment with the questions that we normally have before we unveil whatever it is that's in this container/cage. I saw a video the other day of two gray whales avoiding 30 killer whales, somehow avoiding in a fight 30 killer whales. And I've just got killer whale questions because I also saw a video the other day of what looked like a killer whale with a porpoise in its mouth. I don't know what killer whales eat or how much they eat.
Well, they eat a lot. They eat other cetaceans. I mean, that's hence their name, killer whales. They're one of the only animals in the world that will feed on something, the largest animal in the world ever to exist, the blue whale. They'll kill blue whales. I actually was in Antarctica and saw a pod of killer whales going after a humpback whale. And it was incredible. You got all these killer whales are coming around, and they're going at it, and this humpback whale is going up and down and just flapping its huge, massive flukes. And then with a big swap of the tail, dive down and apparently avoided the kill. But they were coming in to kill this humpback whale.
How good as hunters are killer whales? Do they work in tandem at all?
They do work in tandem. Probably one of the most famous videos. You can YouTube it. You'll see it many times of these killer whales on a seal that is on an iceberg. And the seal thinks, okay, I can get away from the killer whales, but I'm on the iceberg. And these killer whales, what they do is they go around and they get together in a huddle, and then they all swim together to cause this massive wave that hits the iceberg, knocks the seal off, and there's a killer whale on the other end waiting for it. Boom, they get the seal. It's over.
But one whale gets the seal.
No, but they share. They all go in. Not one whale gets the seal. They all go in there and start feeding. It's a cooperative effort. It's intelligence. It's planning. It's teamwork.
Ron, also on the killer whale thread, I saw a video yesterday of a penguin that was basically hollowed out. And what the person was telling me was that the orcas have found out that if they try to eat the penguin whole, their skin is too rough, their feathers are too rough, so they have a hard time eating it. So what they do is they essentially squeeze all of the meat and skeleton out of the penguin and eat it that way, so they just have this floating carcass that's completely hollow inside.
They do that. Other animals that feed on penguins, the leopard seal does the same thing, except what they do is they'll grab it by the feathers and the feet, and then they'll thrash it until all of its insides come out. It's like they just flop, 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 flop on top of the water, and then all the guts and everything come out, and that's what they feed on. But yeah, the feathers of a penguin, understand that these feathers have multiple layers, and the down is incredibly thick because they're insulating themselves from that incredible temperature out in Antarctica. So that is kind of a protection. It's like taking the shell off of a pistachio.
Ron, the Miami Seaquarium, apparently with the help of Jim Irsay, is going to move Lolita to quote-unquote, and like the Colts owner. Yeah, apparently he's going to move Lolita to home waters.
Yeah. It is the Colts owner.
Yeah.
Wow.
How do you think that's going to work out for Lolita?
What a sound of mind decision.
Yeah. How do you think that's going to work out for Lolita?
She's going to immediately die, isn't
Well,
she?
I don't think she's going to immediately die. I'm going to tell you, my heart hopes it works. My mind tells me otherwise. And I'll tell you why, guys. I understand where people are coming from. And what happened to Lolita all those years ago was horrific. It should never happen again. But I'm very hesitant to think, we can take her and release her. Oh, sure, it's a great script for a movie. But here's the problem, guys. And let me put it into an analogy for you. They're saying, her mother's 90-something years old, and they're going to recognize her right away. Let me ask you something. Human beings are generally considered to be the smartest of all of the living mammals today, right? Now, if you took a child away from their mother when the child was, let's say, 1 or 2, and let's say I picked up a child, and let me just pick an abstract country somewhere else on the other side of the world. Let's say India. I took this child from India, and I brought him here to the United States at 2 years old, and I raised him in a little white padded room. That's all this kid saw, and just heard me speaking to them. That's the language they learned. And it was a horrible thing that I did. And all of a sudden, 50 years later, they say, you know what, God, this was horrible. This guy, Ron Magill, was a jerk. I can't believe he did this to this kid. We're going to release this kid, send this kid back to India, take his mother and put him in there with a bunch of other kids. And I'm going to ask you, is that mother going to be able to identify his kid? Is that mother going to be able to talk to his kid? No. Okay. Now, maybe there's something these animals can do that we cannot do. I hope I'm wrong. But here's the other problem, guys. She's been raised in a basically sterile bubble for 50 years, as horrific as it is. When I go to Africa, I can go to Africa. If I take a sip of the water from the river in Africa, I'm going to be pooping through a freaking needle for 3 weeks, okay? Sick as a dog. Yet these kids go out there and they can drink that water. Why? Because they were raised in that water. They built up natural resistance to those pathogens, to those waters. This is the same thing with killer whales. Killer whales are raised in an ocean that's full of pathogens, full of different kinds of diseases that they build up resistance to as they're growing up in the ocean. When you're raised in a sterile tank, you don't have that resistance. So she's going to be put out, we're going to have her in a pen. We're just going to feed her. She's not going to be just set free. It doesn't matter. You're exposing her to the water, to the pathogens out there. The other thing is, look, go back to the Free Willy thing. They'll say, Keiko, he lived for 5 years. He lived for 5 miserable flipping years. He died of miserable pneumonia. Guys, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong if they go through with this. But my heart tells me she's not going to live a long time. And it's going to be a slow, miserable death. And my point here is, I don't think two wrongs make a right. So I know I'm going to have.
We should free Lolita. We should do that. Let's free Lolita.
I know people are going to jump down my throat. How can you love animals and say
Fourth
that?
pick, we're freeing Lolita.
I'm just saying. My common sense is telling me, guys. They're all saying that this 95-year-old mother is going to recognize her.
No. You don't get it. We're going to free Lolita.
Who's he mocking?
Everyone's going to love
Jim
us.
Irsay.
Oh, Jim Irsay.
He's
Okay.
doing a Jim
Let's do it
Irsay
now.
impersonation.
This is what I'm talking about.
It's free Lolita now.
You can't do it. Guys.
You say Hersey Hawkins?
Just use your common sense. If you took a child away and 50 years later put them in there, how many parents that put up their kids for adoption see them 50 years later and go,
Ron,
oh, you're my kid?
you're not listening. It's a whale that's in captivity. We free it. We're free
what do you have for Ron Magill before we unleash the contents of this cage?
How long do whales live? Like, is it possible that the mother's
Don't
still
care.
alive?
We free it.
They say they have proof that the mother is still alive, and I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting
mom's
that.
alive.
But
Take my
also,
word
let
for
me
it.
put this into perspective, guys. if you had, and let's say a whale has a life analogous to human beings, and actually it's not quite as long as human beings, but this is an exception. She's lived a long time.
Right.
Let's say your grandmother
Right.
was 95 years old.
I find any whale, I can convince you it's
she
its
hasn't
mom.
seen her kid since she was 20, and all of a sudden you're going to put her kid in front of her. Your grandmother might not recognize you at 95. Okay, age also has an effect on animals. There's a certain attrition.
You're not hearing me.
No, you're not hearing me, Mike.
No, any random whale will do. We tell everybody it's the mom.
Oh my
Lolita
gosh.
dies 25 minutes after the camera leaves.
Oh,
It's fine.
stop
We
it,
save
Mike. This
Lolita.
is terrible. No, this is a serious
And
thing,
then we
guys.
draft Anthony Richardson.
And bring back Andrew Luck.
You speak for the audience when you yell at him for not letting go of the limited fake Jim Irsay impersonation.
Is that something he's been working on?
No, I mean, evidently not, given how poor it is. Amin, what do you have for Ron Magill?
I want to ask another question. You talked about releasing animals back into the wild and them not being accustomed to the pathogens in the water and stuff like that. Are there vaccines or anything that can be done to help transition an animal?
You know, I'm not a vet, so I can't really say that. I'm sure there are antibiotics. I'm sure there's some kinds of protective measures they can take to help offset that. But at the end of the day, guys, my mind just tells me, and again, I am not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but common sense just tells me, yeah, your heart wants to say, oh, yeah, it's going to recognize it. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen. On the contrary, I think what might happen is that pod may reject her, saying, who is this person? She doesn't belong in our clan. And then you got a real disaster.
Let's go ahead and get to the unveiling here and the discomfort of Greg Cody, who's moving, squirming around in his chair.
I'm going to the other room.
No, you got to stay here. We need.
Why do I have to stay
Because
here?
you're under
Because
contract
it's
for
the
this
point.
show.
It's the point
I'm
of what
under
we're
contract.
doing.
No. This
What
is
do
a
you-
bad idea.
What do you mean?
This is a bad idea. And now there are people barricading the door. I
yes,
can't get out.
here
Ron.
co-
Enough.
He's legitimate.
Enough.
You can
I
leave.
don't come to work for this. Get away.
What
He
a
ran clear out the
coward.
studio.
What a coward.
He ran clear
He
past
injured Mike-
Frankie.
He injured Mike's
He's
arm.
in the garage.
The barricading did not work. He knocked over a table here.
He broke a camera.
No, he's legitimately scared. It's so strange. So very
Oh,
strange.
God.
It's not right, guys. It's not right that you guys give these animals a bad label.
You ran at
They don't
him with that
deserve
animal
label,
and
guys.
waved it in his
I'm serious.
face.
I'm going to put my headphones back on. I'm going to lay the snake. Don't worry, Greg. I'm not going to let it hurt you. Okay.
It's looking right at
Guys,
Greg.
you have to-
Look at Greg.
Greg hair flat too.
Look, guys.
Don't move,
I
Greg.
want,
Just
I
stay
want you
still.
to. I want you to look at this animal. I want you
Beautiful.
to
It's a beautiful.
Ron, you
animal.
ran at him with that animal.
I want you to understand.
Is that a snake in your pants, or are you just happy to see me? Boy, all hell is breaking loose
Yeah,
here.
it just killed the microphone.
No, it's not. It's good. It's good.
Shambolic.
It's good. It's good. Look, Greg, listen.
Yeah.
First of all, this is a ball python. It's a non-venomous snake.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, it's a non-venomous snake. I wouldn't bring a venomous snake out here.
Thank
and
God.
I don't want Stugotz to run scared like that. I want him to understand. Once you understand an animal, you realize it's not everything you think it is. First of all, it looks slimy, right?
Yeah.
It's not. I'm gonna ask Dan to touch it. I'm not gonna ask Greg to touch it because he already told me no. Is it slimy, Dan?
No.
Not at all.
I would touch it, just not near the
Did
small
Stugotz
venomous
bring
head.
security with him?
He just brought
No,
Frankie
he
with him.
brought the camera. He broke the camera and everything.
He
up there.
did
knocked
knock over a
he
camera
knocked
running
over the
out
camera.
of
But
here.
more importantly, he knocked over your wonderful social media person there. He hurt her. She
Yeah.
could sue you, Stugotz.
I don't-
Assault. I hope you got
HR,
good insurance. HR. that-
Mike,
that's
were you surprised by the strength of Stugotz's fear opening the door
I
you
wasn't
had
expecting.
barricaded?
I was trying to lock it conventionally, and he came going for it. And yeah, it was like that mom strength.
It would have been such good video if he had stayed
Oh,
in
now
the
he's coming in with
studio.
security. Oh, look at him. How
Yes,
brave he is.
all right.
Look
He
at him.
ran right through the door. There's
Okay.
an outline of his body on the door right now.
Franklin's going to come in. Let him come in. Franklin's going to protect you. 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 Okay.
Frankie, you got to go in front of me, man.
Frankie, close the door behind
door,
him,
yeah.
please.
No,
Close
studio.
the door
No,
behind him.
Doors are being closed.
got you, Stu. I got you.
I got you, Stu.
Doors are being
Stugotz.
closed.
Look. Look, Stugotz. Look.
Look at me.
Stugotz, let him drape it on your shoulders.
Half and half.
Stugotz. Look.
Let him drape it on your shoulders.
Stugotz.
It's
Look,
non-venomous.
You have your snake, I have mine. Couple
Stugotz.
snakes, cutting it
Stugotz.
up.
Snakes are important animals. They're this is really, he's serious.
No, he is
Guys,
serious.
but
He's not acting, but he's also not giving us the payoff we need because he's a total coward.
Why are snakes important, Ron?
You know why? Because they control vermin. They have a massive contribution in controlling rodents and other animals that pass on tremendous diseases diseases, do tremendous damage to crops. They are totally misunderstood. I don't want Stugotz to have this feeling. Saying that, I don't want anybody, especially kids who are watching the show, don't think, oh, there's a snake. Ron says it's okay, go pick it up. No, don't do that either. Don't do that.
But they're
okay?
safe, and to prove how safe they are, Greg's going to put it around its neck.
No, Greg already asked me, don't ask me to touch it.
Okay.
And I respect that from
All right,
Greg.
Dan?
So Greg is
you
sitting
can
here
put it-
like
you
a
can put
normal
it
human
around my
being.
neck.
Look,
That's fine.
Dan
You can
will
put
take
around
it.
my neck.
There we go.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Ron, I have a question about
It's going to be the
snakes.
first time you've been lugging the snake around.
Been doing it for 18 years. Go ahead, Billy. What's the question
Well,
you
his
have?
headphones aren't on. He can't hear me.
I'll repeat your question to him.
So because he says that it's not venomous, it's not going to bite you. But should there be a fear that snake decides to strangle you? Like, because snakes sometimes will kind of wrap around
I'd like
you.
to see that snake try.
Yeah.
There he goes, right at
Oh, no, it's right by his mouth.
There's no risk. There is no risk of this
going
snake
for your coffee.
strangling me.
Well,
That's
how do you know that?
I'm right here.
Because
That's why I'm right here. I'm here.
Is there like a release
Okay,
valve?
I
What are you
wouldn't be
talking
alone
about?
with the snake.
Yeah.
I am right here. The snake is totally. As a matter of fact, see how it's calm right now because Dan emits body heat, and when he emits the body heat, it calms the snake down. It gets rejuvenated by the body heat. It's a little cool in the studio here. So you see the tongue flicking out. Listen, you don't get any cooties from the tongue. The tongue is basically it's collecting little chemical particles in the air that go back into the mouth, and there's an organ in the roof of the mouth of all snakes called the Jacobson's organ. It's like a little computer, and it tells the snake what's around it. So guys, if you just understand these animals, you would have a much greater appreciation for them. They really are fascinating. So many snakes get persecuted because of people like Stugotz.
This snake is pretty strong, heavy.
That's
and
what I'm
strong.
saying. Be careful. What if it strangles you?
Wow.
Are there snakes other than the boa that can strangle people to death? Are there other kinds of snakes that can do that, Ron?
Absolutely. There are several types of constrictors, large constrictors. There are a big group of boas. There are pythons.
Pliskins.
These are all many species that occur in those two groups that have the capability of constricting a person.
Ron, quick question: Do snakes have ears? Like
No, that's a good question. Snakes do not have ears. Snakes do not have external ears as we know them, so they can never hear anything. Another thing snakes don't have is they don't have eyelids, so they can't close their eyes. Okay, well, you did it. They can't close their eyes. So that's why they always look like they're awake, but they're not. They can sleep with their eyes open. Wow. So they don't have external ears. Of course, they don't have legs, but they do have the remnants of a pelvis. So there's actually these little spurs here. This is a female, so her spurs are small, but males have bigger spurs, and those are actually vestigial legs from when snakes actually had legs. People think snakes are so old because they don't have legs that they evolved to grow legs. No, they evolved to lose their legs, so they're actually an advanced type of reptile.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Did you know that snakes had a pelvis? Ron, thrilling to have you here in studio. I'm sorry that Stugotz is such a coward and that he misrepresents the animal kingdom by not listening to anything you've said
He
for
doesn't
the
listen. He
entire
just has
time
this
you've been on
fear.
with
He
us.
has this fear. Animals are incredible, guys. You just need to understand them. I'm not saying be careless with them. Don't put yourself at risk. Just understand them. Also, this is a shameless plug. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Channel 10 here in South Florida. Wild Florida, a documentary I did with Channel 10. Look and see the incredible wildlife just right here in Florida. From bears to manatees to freaking wild hogs, bald eagles. It's all there. You'll see it and love it.
I believe there is no greater animal expert making the rounds publicly with information and entertainment than Ron Magill. 8 p.m. tomorrow, Channel 10 locally in South Florida, documentary he's been working on for a while. I know he's missed some appearances around here while doing it. Thank you, Ron, for being on with us every week. Thank you for coming into the studio.
Nice studio. A real upgrade. This is like the Taj Mahal, man. Beautiful.
Cody is saying that's not an act to Stugotz as the microphones turn on. Stugotz seems palpably rattled. He does not seem himself.
Snake term, funny.
Your fear of snakes, is it bigger than your fear of frogs? Because you alleged your fear was of frogs, but I've never seen you move that fast.
Yeah.
You moved pretty fast when he threw some crickets at you.
I did, yeah, like a scat back. Yeah.
Not like a scat back, like a fat back. And you you ran out of here with an uncommon strength as well, pulling Mike Ryan out of here. Has the snake now surpassed your fear of frogs? Because I can't imagine how you'd react if you called 911 on a frog.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how you'd react if there was a snake nearby, because it wasn't a frog in your house. It was just a frog in your driveway.
Yeah, I would sell my house if I found a snake in it. In fact, Billy and I had Mike Trout on the show on Stupidity one day, and he told us that he found a rattlesnake in his house and then sold the house. And I would do something similar to that.
Didn't you decapitate a snake by trapping it with your garage door?
I did, yeah.
And you did move out of that house.
Right. I didn't really do it. I trapped the snake with my garage door. Abby took care of the rest.
He didn't ask any questions. J.J. Watt also had that issue. I think he found a rattlesnake in his bathroom. Cody wasn't a lot better, though. Cody didn't sprint out of the room, but Cody was deeply uncomfortable, and I don't put it on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Are you afraid of snakes?
I trust Ron Magill, and once he told me it was a non-venomous snake, I calmed down palpably. Like I got immediately better. If it was a venomous snake,
You think he would have brought a venomous snake in here?
I don't. He's a snake charmer. I don't know.
Every snake is non-venomous until it's venomous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See there?
That literally is impossible.
That's not
That's
the way
not
that...
no.
That's
Dan,
not science.
You've seen snake handlers and crocodile wrestlers and all these things. They all tell you that it's safe, and then it's like, oh, but you're missing a third of a finger. Like, no, that was just that one time that happened. It's like, well, it only takes one. You know what I mean?
Right. Plus that little tongue darting in and out. You know, it's very off-putting.
Makes it
the
sound like
snake.
that thing's an iPhone. Get out of here. That thing's not a computer. It's a tongue.
Right.
Okay?
It's got a tiny head, which is misleading because inside that tiny head, all kind of mayhem going on, all kind of terror.
That's what I'm talking
It's
about.
ridiculous.
Preach.
Yep. I mean, seriously.
The smaller the head, the less you trust. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Amin?
Pinhead, the pinhead of animals.
I don't know where Amin is. I didn't know where
Worried.
you were moments ago. You said you were walking Ron out, but you came in smelling like cigarettes again. And
That's a permanent smell. I mean, I didn't have one. I walked Ron to the elevator. I'm not certain he got in the elevator and went down. I wanted to walk him to his car. He wouldn't allow me to do it. I'm nervous, Dan.
That boa was smoking a cigarette on the way out, I noticed.
go sit in the penalty box.
Oh, no!
Just go sit in the
I don't
penalty
know where
box.
it is. I'm new here.
All right,
I don't
go.
know where's the
Just-
penalty
I
box.
showed it to you.
Just get out of. Just
I'll
get
walk
out.
him over.
Yeah, of course you
that's
will.
fine.
Thank you.
That's fine. Both of you can get out of here. Let's play some video here, and I'll walk along the audio audience. I'll walk them along here because the Warriors game last night against the Kings was interesting for a number of different reasons.
I'm leaving.
Thank you. Steph Curry is now down 0-2 for the first time in a series. Draymond Green gets ejected for doing Draymond Green things. This stat, did you guys see this stat? Do you know who is number 2 all time now in Kings playoff victories for a coach?
Is it Mike Brown?
Mike Brown. Mike Brown.
That's
with,
incredible.
With 2. Adelman's got all the other.
That's an amazing stat.
I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs forever. It is. It's an amazing stat. But I want to show people via video, and I'll explain it to the audio audience. This guy who was standing behind Bob Myers, the president of the Golden State Warriors, shaking a cowbell the entire game in his ear. There is no way that Bob Myers will sit in the crowd again when they return to Sacramento, because that seemed deeply unpleasant. The cowbell sound for even a little while is unpleasant, but this Kings fan took great pride in targeting an executive who was wearing a sharp suit and just basically making that game a misery for Bob Myers more than it already was, watching his team barely score 100 points and watching maximum Draymond in a close game. In a game that was close. They need Draymond Green. They need his defense. Draymond Green out there would have been helpful, and he continues to throw away games, and beyond that, he's fighting with the crowd and calling it fun. But let's show that video now. would hate that guy so much. I would hate him. Look at him. Look how happy he is. He is thrilled. Stugotz, did you see what happened with Anthony Bass, the Toronto Blue Jays pitcher, who did what a lot of people are doing these days, and a lot of people are doing successfully to get a lot of rewards when they complain publicly about an airline? What are you making faces about, Billy?
I don't like it. It's cliche at this point.
To
You know what I
complain
mean?
about the airlines to the airlines?
Yeah, you tweet about it, and every time anything goes wrong for anyone on an airplane, they tell everybody on Twitter, and it becomes like a whole thing. If I was the airlines, I would lean into it. I'm like, yeah, you don't like it? Fly your own plane. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Because everybody does it.
That's a good point.
It's just become old to me. You know what I mean? Like I was in the hallway over there. Cougs told me a Florida man joke, and I'm like, okay, I get it, Cougs. It's Florida. We get it. You know what I mean? Same thing with airlines. It's the same thing.
Not the greatest customer service. I would not put you in charge of customer service to tell people fly your own plane, but just as good as general customer service these days from the airlines. But Stugotz, do you know the story, what it is? Because this backfired on Anthony Bass. I learned that his ERA this season is 7.11 because of how it backfired on him, because everybody was dragging him. Do you know any of what happened here?
I have no idea.
The Bass family, evidently, his pregnant wife, Sydney, was flying with a couple of toddlers, a couple of kids 2 years old and 5 years old. And the photograph that I saw had a whole lot of popcorn on the floor, because you can't trust a 2-year-old to eat popcorn with grace. And what happened is Anthony Bass complained to United Airlines, how dare you make my pregnant wife get on her hands and knees to clean up a bunch of popcorn. And a whole lot of people were saying, clean up after your kids. I think all of us are generally annoyed by the kids of others. The behavior of kids on others on airplanes can be rambunctious. I don't know about you guys. You guys are the ones with kids. How embarrassed are you when your kids will not behave on an airplane, start crying, and start misbehaving?
I would say that people who have had kids, but their kids are older, are not generally annoyed by other people's kids. They've been there. They've had to deal with these problems, so they kind of understand, you know?
The heady play here would have been to instruct the 5-year-old to pick up the popcorn that the 2-year-old had dropped. That's the beauty of a 5-year-old, is that they can do menial tasks and not only do them well, but enjoy being assigned to do them.
They're vacuums.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was the way to handle this. But the thing I don't like about this whole story is the entitlement of it. You know, the idea if an anonymous person complains to an airline, they get crickets in return, whereas if a celebrity tries to make a big deal of it, you know, all of a sudden, they get action. You know, that doesn't strike me as right.
It was Anthony Bass, I mean.
Yeah, but still, you're right.
The word celebrity's doing a lot of work there.
I still have no idea who
I
Anthony
just found
Bass
out he was a
is.
pitcher. I mean,
Former Marlin.
He's a poor man's Trout.
really?
Oh, no.
Where would you rank Bass in the bass, trout, salmon baseball references?
Bass apparently is in the low echelon based on what I'm hearing. I mean, you know, Trout obviously is number one.
Tim Salmon.
Yeah, right. Hall of Famer. No, not really. Is there ever been a player named Shark?
I think so.
Yeah, because that would be the top
DJ
of
Shark, football player.
Is that right? That's right.
Shark.
Yeah,
Shark with a C.
Tomato.
His wife, by the way, deserves like a Medal of Honor for traveling on an airplane while pregnant with 2 toddlers.
That's true.
That is not easy.
Technically, a 5-year-old is not a toddler. Okay. I almost corrected LeBatard, but he'd have sent me to the shipping room over there, whatever it's called.
The shipping room?
Whatever.
The penalty box.
The penalty box. I stood there for 5 minutes on a yellow line
and
a queue line, and nothing ever happened.
I'd also say popcorn is a very dangerous game.
Yeah.
Not just for a 2-year-old, for a 25-year-old, a 40-year-old, any age.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
In what sense?
It's just hard to, contain.
Yeah.
Get every kernel in the mouth, get all the popcorn. It hits the ground. Some of it hits the ground occasionally.
Yeah, a 2-year-old should not be eating popcorn.
Probably not.
It's very husky. It's a husky food, and the 2-year-old can't digest it. You know, it's a choking hazard.
No, that's
is
true.
What that is.
And then you get the hard kernels get stuck in your teeth.
Yeah.
Billy, I'm so tired of your "and that's true." Please tell me what baseball player's named Shark. Please tell me you agreed with this because you agree with everything Greg Cody
I didn't want to
says.
slow down the show.
But,
Billy's right.
But please tell me
Thank you, Greg.
which is the baseball player named
No,
Shark.
we've moved on. There's no point in going back. You know
In
what
Greg's
I mean?
defense, Gerardo Parra used to walk up to Baby Shark, so that must be what he was
you
thinking
Yeah,
of.
there you go.
And by the
Sure.
way, they honored him by putting a baby shark on the inside of the Nationals World Series championship ring. Did you guys know that?
There was a Mako Olivares.
There you go.
Juju, please put it on the poll. Is the beauty of a 5-year-old that it can do menial tasks for you? Stugotz.
I once was forced into a panic attack on an airplane because of a similar situation. Now, like the photo that I saw didn't seem that messy, but it was a similar situation. It was 2 women, I guess, an aunt and a mom, and they had very rambunctious children that were running roughshod over an entire transatlantic flight. And there was one moment where they just opened up an entire bag of popcorn and started throwing it everywhere, and I legitimately, no joke, had a panic attack. Attendants had to tend to me.
Jeff Samardzija, the shark.
What was happening with the panic attack? Were you imagining yourself in that situation with a child
I
you
don't know.
couldn't control?
It was a trigger for me, I guess. At the moment, it was really bad. I got like super sweaty, heart palpitations, had trouble breathing. It was noticeable too. I didn't flag anybody down. Like attendants came to me because what was going on literally right next to me for an entire transatlantic flight induced a panic attack in me.
If my pregnant wife were trying to get somewhere,
Congratulations.
Yeah, man.
Hey, way to go.
Wow, some
Congrats,
big
Dan.
news you just
Wow,
shared
how
there,
about
Dano.
that? About time.
No?
Sorry.
your cough has such a wheeze in it. Like
It really
your
does.
laugh, your
Yeah.
laugh
Why didn't Greg
has
break this?
so much wheezing in it. The if meant it was a hypothetical. It's an important word.
Thanks for clearing it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Take it back.
Already posted something in the Herald.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
If my pregnant wife were traveling across the country with a couple of toddlers and anyone from the airline made my pregnant wife in front of people get on her hands and knees, I would have a big problem with whatever happened before that made her pick that up and embarrassed her.
What if your pregnant wife was a flight attendant?
Mind blown.
Yeah, that's right.
My God.
Unless all the flight attendants are pregnant, somebody else who's not pregnant needs
She
to
was in
pick up.
first class, and there's only certain flight attendants assigned to this.
This Anthony Bass, this is a heady play by him mentioning it bought him nothing.
No, because everyone assumed he was on the plane just
That was the
documenting.
problem. That was the problem with this, is he got torched because everybody just thought he was just this entitled dude taking a picture of like, man, my wife had to clean this popcorn up, when really he was just traveling with the team. But then what ended up happening is when people came after him, he started attacking the randoms on Twitter, and that's where it went completely out of control.
From the Chris Cody School of PR, I mean, this picture got 57 million views. So, was it a bad day for Anthony Bass?
Well, again, I learned that he had an ERA of 7.11.
Would have been better if he was having a good season.
Always
So
open.
what exactly about it? It was a pregnancy part, right?
I think so. but-
Because he wouldn't have taken offense if she wasn't pregnant. But you can only fly to a certain trimester. Like they tell you to stop flying at like 36 weeks.
He made it abundantly clear to the random people on Twitter that she was approved to fly.
But you also have to pick up after your kids. Somebody's got to clean that up. Like to treat the flight attendant as if they're in the trash business and that you could throw your trash anywhere shows a basic lack of decency. I told you guys the story recently of, I think it was in England, somebody saw that a trash person was walking down the street and just threw their thing on the ground at his feet for the trash person to pick it up. And the trash person took a stick and hit him over the head with it. I'm like,
For the trash
you
person.
kind of
There you
earned
go.
that.
Yes.
I know that we're trying. It's 2023, and we don't want to say garbage man anymore. But trash person sounds worse.
I wasn't even doing that because I
It
wasn't.
really does.
No, because I'm saying on a
Waste management professional.
That's a trash person
on
right
a-
That's a
there.
great
Sanitation
job.
engineer.
Yeah.
on a flight,
Benefits.
I don't give a flight attendant trash pickup responsibilities unless it's minor trash. I don't know where the line is on how much, without being indecent, you can ask somebody to pick up after you, but popcorn all over the floor is a bridge too far.
And when people were going after them about like, all right, well, she should have cleaned up the popcorn, his response was, well, United provided the popcorn. Wow.
Oh,
what?
Jesus.
The plot thickens.
It really does.
Where have you been?
Did someone say waste management?
Where have you been? You've been gone for 2 segments. We've been asking, where did you go?
Well, I wasn't gone for 2 segments. I was gone for 1 segment, and then the second segment started, and so I decided not to interrupt. But then I heard waste management. I was here. I executed the Golden God maneuver. I went upstairs to take a dump in my own private.
Wow.
In my own private throne.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Oh, it's a game changer, boys.
Yeah. Everything come out all right?
Perfect. Great volume, consistency, color. It's definitely a dump.
Ain't nothing better.
You're right.
You didn't text us in the group chat.
I did.
You did?
Yeah, and I said I'm a golden god. I said it in the group chat right there.
I feel Dan's frustration.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it on his face.
I just don't know why it is you guys always have to take it to the lowest common denominator, not clever humor of Amin was taking a shit. It's like 7 straight shows where we've had to talk about your shit. And I'm like, aren't we just a little bit smarter than that? That it's not a good joke the first time. Why do we have to make it 7 times?
We just did the old secret snake gag.
A streak, huh? Wow.
7 times a charm.
Also, Dan, you asked a question. I answered it.
But what adults usually don't have these problems. Like you said, you're someone who can control when he goes to the bathroom, and
Adults
you never go to the bathroom publicly. And now all of a sudden we got 7 straight shows where you're just gone for segments at a time that I'm assuming Meadowlark is paying you for, and then all you bring back in terms of content is, "Hey everybody, I pooped."
A 7-show shitting streak.
It's not public anymore.
Roy just made the joke.
You didn't, though. Not the way I did.
Oh, okay, thanks.
The Cal Ripken of the head.
This is a real show.
The lavatory. What? I mean, that's an impressive streak.